the past few months, I've been 100%ing a whole bunch of LEGO games on the channel, and over the past few weeks, I've been on a huge Pirates of the Caribbean kick. And I think you can see where I'm going with this. Today, we're going to be 100%ing LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean, the video game. Like a lot of other early LEGO games, this one doesn't have traditional Steam trophies, but there is an in-game 100% we can get. I also just watched all these movies for the first time, so this was honestly a lot of fun. And it was my fastest LEGO 100% yet, coming in at only 19 hours, which was great. So this game covers the stories of the first 3 movies, and the one that nobody likes or talks about. So let's hop right into The Curse of the Black Pearl. We begin at Port Royal, where we're introduced to Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann before famed pirate Captain Jack Sparrow sails in and crashes into the port. Elizabeth then falls into the water and Jack saves her, but since he's a pirate, he's gotta run. And he runs right into Will's workshop, and we have a little boss fight against Jack, which literally sends him right into the arms of the Royal Guard. Of course, landing him in jail. That night though, the undead pirates attack. Will tries to fight them off, and dang, he is freaking crazy with that axe. But the pirates kidnap Elizabeth and Will gets knocked out. He realizes that the only way he'll actually find Elizabeth is with the help of a pirate, so he frees Jack from prison with some help from the dog from the original ride. We can also get our first mini-kit here, which in this game takes the form of a ship in a bottle, which is pretty cool. Then they head into the port, and we get to see why Jack is such an important character here. He's the only character in the game who can actually use a compass, which is important because you need to find 8 specific items in each level that can be found with said compass. It's not really important right now, but it will be very important for the 100% later. We also get True Pirate here, meeting the stud goal, which is another thing we'll have to do on every level eventually. Anyways, they sneak onto and steal the ship, ending the first level. Jack then realizes that Will isn't really a pirate, and that he's gonna need a full crew to save the day, so they head to Tortuga and gather up a crew. They wake up Mr. Gibbs, who can fix stuff, find my personal favorite character in the game, Marty, who has a huge gun that can actually break silver objects, which is great, and he can crawl into little hatches. They grab Anna Maria, who can double jump, because every female character in the game can double jump for some reason, and Cotton, who does a
for example, nothing.
The level ends with Elizabeth having dinner with Barbossa, where he explains how his crew got cursed, and she's just absolutely terrified. Level 3 then starts with us saving Elizabeth, and Jack gets stuck on the Pearl. Elizabeth tells Will that they were after his medallion that she took from him as a child, and they spend the level trying to save Jack and get the medallion back once it falls underwater. And when it gets stolen by a monkey, they gotta beat up the monkey. Sadly though, Jack and Elizabeth walk the plank, leading into level 4. Here they're stuck on an island and have to try and signal Norrington, the guy from the beginning of the game who likes Elizabeth, by exploring and grabbing different stacks of firewood from across the island. Eventually Norrington does come, and Elizabeth tells him she'll marry him if they go back and save Will. Which leads directly into level 5, where Jack and Elizabeth go through the caves of Isla de Muerta before finding Will all tied up. Barbossa then sends the undead pirates to kill the Royal Navy, recreating this iconic scene from the original movie. While that's going on though, we free Will, and Jack takes one of the pieces of Aztec gold so he can compete with Barbossa. That of course leads into the final fight against said Barbossa, where you can only damage him when he's in his skeleton form. And that's actually a pretty neat gimmick for this fight. Once he's defeated, Jack and Will put all the gold back, breaking the curse, and initiating one final fight with Barbossa and his monkey, where you have to throw a bunch of coconuts at him, and just like 150 people each year, these coconuts are enough to kill him. The crew makes it back to the boat safely, but Elizabeth has to marry Norrington, and Jack is set to be executed, or at least have food thrown at him, I guess. It is a LEGO game after all. Will and Elizabeth step in though and profess their LEGO love for one another, letting Jack escape into the next movie. And the credits roll, ending with us only having 11.5% of this game done. Jesus, is gonna take forever. There is an end credit scene though that shows Barbossa being taken out of the cave, but we'll come back to that soon enough. Before we hop into Dead Man's Chest though, I explored the Port Royal hub area for a bit and found out that red bricks, or in this game red hats, are found by doing puzzles in the hub world. We only really found Fast Forge here though, which is good, but
Georgie?
Yeah?
We're looking for brisket!
And the brisket in this case is stud multipliers. But now it's time to head into the second movie. But before we do so, I'd be so grateful if you guys hype this video up down below, because it would just help it get some love from the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to go one step further, you can always like and subscribe too. If you do, thank you very much. But let's move on to the Dead Man's Chest. Movie 2 opens with Will and Elizabeth's wedding day being ruined by this little guy, Cutler Beckett. After they find out they're going to be imprisoned for helping Jack unless they find him, and more specifically his compass, Will sets out to find him, and does, but he ends up getting captured by a bunch of cannibals in the process, which is surprisingly dark for a LEGO game the more I think about it. Either way, him and Mr. Gibbs have to climb to the top of this mountain in these skeleton balls, which is honestly super fun to destroy stuff in, and they eventually meet back up with Jack and escape the island with some help from the OG crew and 2 of the weird guys from the Pearl. We set sail, but so does Elizabeth back at Port Royal. Then in level 2, we head to Tia Dalma's swamp to get information about the dead man's chest from her, but we get attacked by weird vines and an alligator along the way. We do eventually make it there though, and she explains Davy Jones's backstory, and Davy Jones is the guy whose heart is in the chest. We also track his ship down in a stupid spyglass puzzle and are told we need to get the key for the chest from him. To get the key, Will joins the Flying Dutchman's crew, while Jack uses some crazy tricks on Davy Jones. Level 3 has us playing as Will and his dad, Bootstrap Bill Turner, which is just a freaking awesome name, as they try to break into Davy Jones's piano room and steal the key off of him, which they do successfully. Will tries to escape, but he sees the Kraken in the distance and realizes it is not worth it, so he just hides on the mouth of the ship. At the beginning of level 4, Jack finds a really washed up Norrington and Elizabeth, and the three of them head to the island where the chest is located. They fight a huge crab and eventually do find the chest, but just like in the movie, all the parties end up betraying each other, and we end up having another boss fight against Jack. But this time in a fortress and on the giant wheel from the iconic scene in the movie, it even spins! Which is really cool for like the first 2 times maybe, and then never again. Kind of hurt my head a little bit. We end up duking it out on the beach a little bit more, but Norrington gets away with the heart in the end. In level 5 though, Davy Jones attacks Jack's crew with their worst nightmare, the Kraken. We explore the bottom of the ship and shoot cannonballs at some of its tentacles before Jack and Elizabeth have a proper boss fight against it, which was honestly way harder than I expected. I died so many times here. In the end though, Elizabeth doesn't purposefully get Jack killed, but she does leave him alone in the end on accident, and he's forced to face the Kraken with just a toothbrush, which is just great. Davy Jones also finds out that his heart was taken out of the chest and that it's in the hands of the British Royal Navy, and he just loses it. And just like in the movie, Tia Dalma reveals that Barbossa's alive and that he'll help us find Jack in the next movie. And the credits roll, ending the dead man's chest and showing us our nice new percentage of 23.9% done. Wow. And now let's move on to the third movie, At World's End. Here we actually start in Singapore, where we have to convince one of the pirate leaders to join the fight against Davy Jones and the British Navy. And this level is a really nice change of pace, to be honest. I was getting a little sick of the generic island and ship levels, so this place looked great. We meet up with Xiao Feng when the Navy arrives to stop us, so we gather some of his crew, including our first strong character of the game, and this guy, Tai Huang, who has the single most low-quality profile picture I've ever seen in a LEGO game. Poor dude, he did like nothing wrong. But either way, we escape and head to level 2. Before I went to level 2 though, I explored the new hub world area we unlocked, flew up the bar as Marty, getting a whole bunch of studs for doing so, and I played a shooting mini game that got us the always double treasure red hat, which is different than the treasure ×2 one that we got later, but I don't know, man, treasure's treasure. Then we actually went into level 2 where we sail into Davy Jones's locker and play as a whole bunch of different versions of Jack who are trying to rebuild the Black Pearl with these white crabs. Once everyone meets up though, it turns back into a generic ship level. Great. But here we have to rock the boat and flip it to return to the land of the living. And Barbossa figures out that Tia Dalma is actually the goddess Calypso, and that the only way to stop Davy Jones is to free her from her mortal form. More on that later though. In level 3, Xiao Feng's ship gets attacked and he dies, leaving Elizabeth in charge, and the crew gets imprisoned on the Flying Dutchman. Norrington's on the ship though, so he frees Elizabeth and her men and helps them escape, costing him his life in the process, and they did this man so dirty. Then in level 4, Jack and Barbossa go to the Brethren Court and retrieve all the pirate leaders, and you'd think this level is a nice change of scenery and would be pretty fun, but honestly it was way more annoying somehow. All the pirate lords fight over who should be declared the pirate king, and it's decided it's Elizabeth, and she leads them into the war that is level 5. Here all the parties meet at an island where they engage in some very sophisticated negotiation tactics where nobody really knows what's going on, but that's honestly how I felt watching the movie, so that was pretty clever, LEGO. Then it's finally time to free Tia Dalma using items from the pirate lords, and once we do, a giant whirlpool forms and the final battle begins. We shoot at the Flying Dutchman, but Will gets stabbed by Davy Jones, starting the final duel against him, which Will finishes by stabbing him in the heart. That also means Will's as fit as a fiddle now, but he's stuck on the Flying Dutchman as its captain for like all eternity. And then the two ships recreate that one meme from back in the day where everything's exploding. Will and Elizabeth get their bittersweet ending, and Barbossa and Jack get ready for their next adventures. Speaking of those other adventures, do I really have to talk about the fourth movie, dude? Let's move on to On Stranger Tides. The fourth movie starts with Jack and Gibbs being arrested and meeting the King of England. They also find out that Barbossa's working for him, which really pisses them off. They escape the palace and have a whole wagon chase, which is honestly really cool. This level is like surprisingly gas. Jack then falls off the wagon and catches wind that someone is posing as him, so we fight the fake Jack, and it turns out it was actually Penelope Cruz. I mean, Angelica? But either way, she knocks him out with a frying pan, and Gibbs gets captured by Barbossa after he literally eats the map they need. What a freaking goat. Anyways, we start level 2 by waking up on Blackbeard's ship, the Queen Anne's Revenge, and hear all about Angelica secretly being his daughter and their plan to find the Fountain of Youth. Then starts yet another boring ship level, and this one's especially bad because it's just Jack and all of these random characters. Like, who is Garhang? I don't remember that guy. Eventually, you save Philip, who they made a bad singer in this game, which is honestly kind of clever since he's like a preacher in the original movie, but LEGO doesn't put religion in the game, so I don't know, I just thought that was kind of funny. Anywho, we use Philip's horrible voice at Whitecap Bay to summon some mermaids, then we fight him off for a while before blowing up this tower and capturing one of them. Then we actually travel to the island with the Fountain of Youth, and Jack gets sent to retrieve some goblets, but has to team up with Barbossa to do so. We track them down to a Spanish camp where Barbossa unlocks the ability to throw frogs at people, and we beat up John Spanish himself before meeting back up with Blackbeard. And finally, the last mission of the entire game, thank goodness. Here we travel into the caves of the Fountain of Youth and use a Minecraft bubble elevator to float up to the actual chamber, where Barbossa, his frogs, and the Spanish are waiting our arrival. Now here's where I actually found the best stud grinding spot in the entire game, because you literally get unlimited studs just from fighting these enemies. It's kind of insane. By the time I got on with this mission, like to the next part of it, I had over 400,000 studs with just the ×2 multiplier. But either way, Barbossa poisons both Angelica and Blackbeard, and the latter betrays his own daughter, leading to the final fight of the game. I've gotta admit, this fight's pretty tough. You have to knock Blackbeard out and make Angelica drink the potion while playing as a mermaid, which is actually pretty neat. And Blackbeard uses some crazy magic that he just didn't have in the movie, but I don't know, man, it looks cool. Plus, he turns more and more into a skeleton throughout the battle, which is just a really nice touch. In the end, he literally crumbles and we save Angelica, but we also leave her stranded on an island at the end, so that's just great. And we finally meet up with Gibbs and sail into the sunset. So at this point, I had around like 57% of the game completed, so now it's time we talk about some cleanup. First things first, I bought more of the stud multipliers because they're basically the most important things to get in this game. Then I started going through all the levels and getting all 10 ship in a bottle mini kits and all 8 Jack compass items in each one. This is really where like the grind starts, but you know, there's some fun mini kits in here. Like there's one where you gotta ride on a turtle, and there's one where you gotta throw food at the alligator from the Tia Dalma level instead of throwing bombs at it. Overall though, this part is just really tedious, but that's with any LEGO game. Besides that, you pretty much just have to buy some other miscellaneous red hats, buy every character in the character roster, including Blackbeard, who's maybe the most important character besides Jack, because he's the only one who can do red lightning, which, once again, he didn't do that in the movie, but I'm not going to question it at this point. And then you grab these 4 gold bricks over by the dock, and once you do that, and 100% every level, you get to play what's maybe the best LEGO bonus level of all time. I kid you not. So you know how Pirates of the Caribbean was originally a ride? Well, they made that the bonus level. You ride in a little boat and play through 3 little mini-bosses against Barbossa, Davy Jones, and Blackbeard, which I honestly think is like a perfect way to end this game. And once you beat Blackbeard, you sail through the tunnel, finish the level, receive your final gold brick, and 100% complete the game. And yeah, that's the video. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way through. It means a lot. And if you enjoyed your time, consider subscribing for more content just like this. I've covered all the LEGO Batman games so far as well, so if you want to check those videos out, that would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, that was actually a pretty fun game. It's not perfect, but it's certainly got that LEGO charm to it, and I'd totally recommend playing it for yourself. Either way though, I've been Benjerizer. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!